Hey there, YouTube. Today, I want to talk about the ACRO red dots. I've been putting some pretty aggressive comments on Instagram the last few days, and thought I'd talk about it, explain it a little bit. And of course, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of your opinions in the comments. So my opinion is the ACRO dot, in my opinion, is not a premium dot. It's not really better than or a step up from something like a Hollow Sun, ACRO, something like that. I mean, the stuff that I normally use, it's just, that hasn't been my experience. It hasn't been my observations. When those came out, or I first started seeing those things, I think the same thing everybody thinks. Like, oh, it's Aim Point. It's, kind of a premium brand. I expect that'll be a premium optic and it'll be, relatively bomb-proof and have very few issues. That has not been my experience or observations over time with that dot. So let me tell you why I bring this up. I'll tell you about a friend of mine. I have a friend who I'd say he makes a lot of money, and he's one of these guys who cares about fashion and style. So he's not like me. He's very well dressed, like designer sunglasses and shoes. Very I would say ostentatious Mercedes. Not like a restrained one, but his is a little bit over the top. That's just how this guy does it. He's very fashionable. His sandals are rainbows. His, probably wears cologne. I don't know. He's just one of these types of people. So when I got my Staccato XC, this guy, he's not a competitive shooter anymore, but he still has guns. He looks at that. He's like, well, you should have gotten an ACRO. It's kind of weird to buy a premium gun like that and not have an ACRO on it. He sent me a picture of all his Staccatos. He's got the whole line, of course. And there's like all these Staccatos with ACROs on them. And I was just, that's his opinion. He's like, hey, that's a premium dot. You should have a premium dot on a premium gun. And that kind of got me thinking. It's like, yeah, people do. They have the opinion that the ACRO is like a step up from the other stuff. And just in my firsthand observations over the last few years of seeing the ACROs, there's government agencies, there's different teams, there's different people that use those things. They're pretty common that I see them. And to be honest, that just has not been my experience. I see them like they'll fog up sometimes, in which case you're screwed. You got to send it back. There's some like glue or something. There's a gel-ish, some kind of thing inside of the optic housing. And if that comes loose and shakes around, it might go up against the glass, in which case you're screwed. You got to send it back if you want that cleaned off. I've seen them outright fail, but not that much. It's just, I've seen them, they fail in the fogging way, like occasionally. So it's just the observations that I've actually had in the real world have not borne out what people would say, like what you would think. You would think, I guess, that the ACRO is premium. I'm just telling you, I haven't seen it that way. I had this conversation with a few other people. Like one guy, like I think last week I had like 10 people on the range most days. And we usually use 10, 15,000 rounds. Those people, all of them had ACROs. And I think I saw 2 go down over the course of the week, which is a little higher than normal. Like that's a lot, but still it's like, that's what happened. Okay. And the kind of the take with those guys was the same as mine. It's like, yeah, 2 years ago, I'd have said you're crazy if you said the ACRO is not premium. Now, after using them for a while, I think you're right. Pranka, talked to him about it. He said, yeah, he actually said they're trash. Nick Young posted that from Velux Training Group, posted that on my Instagram as well. He says they're trash and he sees more of those fail than the other dots. Now, like, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that they're trash. I would just say they're not better than. They're not a step up. They're just, it's like if you want that feature set, medium-sized window, closed emitter, that's one to look at. That's not the one that I would buy, but I guess that's one to look at. If you like that feature set, that's kind of how that's where my opinion's at on it. But other guys say they're trash. I like talking about this stuff because this annoys a lot of people when it's like people don't like it if other people have experiences or whatever that aren't in line with their experience or what they think should happen. I'll give you a good example from my life. to make a comparison here. I shot Berettas for a long time in competition. I was successful with Berettas, liked the Berettas back then. You know, they were really great guns for me, really great. But if I talk to a guy who spent a lot of time in the military, usually the story is like the Berettas were trash. The magazines like didn't work. Like the coating on them's bad, or like we got bad runs of magazines. We had like parts for the Berettas and they're breaking crap all the time, like locking blocks, or maybe the slide would crack or this or that. And it's like it's common to hear stories about armorers with whole boxes of Beretta parts from that era in the military. And I never had any of those problems. Like my ride with Beretta was trouble-free. I never broke a locking block, never cracked a slide, never cracked a frame. I really didn't have any substantial problems with the Beretta beyond normal wear and tear. Like the guns were tanks for me, absolutely bomb-proof. Now, the circumstances I shot were maybe a little different. I was shooting not hot military ammo, but like civilian stuff. I had the radiused locking blocks that civilians have, not the flat-faced military ones that broke all the time. I had the heavy slide. Brigadier, my gun was slightly different, and my experience was vastly different. But to get like mad when other people talk about like real stuff that happened, like this and this, like I hate the Berettas, this and this, and they don't like the guns. I don't jump in and be like, oh, but consider this, dude. I shot X number of rounds and never had these problems and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that doesn't really matter to anyone. It's like they still had those problems. I just had a different experience. And that's the kind of comments you see when you talk about stuff like this sometimes, where it's like, I don't think the ACRO is a premium dot. And of course, not all the comments, a bunch of the comments were like, oh, well, I have one. I've shot X number of rounds or whatever. So there. Okay. Not everybody's going to have the same experience. And I think the other thing is I end up seeing a big cross section of shooters. So I have, I would say, different opinions than most. Anyway, make a long story short, if you think the ACRO is a premium dot better than a step up, I would say, no, it's not. That's not my opinion. And I would not buy one on that basis. If it has the feature set you like, it's the type of thing you want, go ahead and buy it. I don't give a shit. But I'm just telling you, I don't think it's a step up from the other stuff. There we go.